The aliens' arrival. The Grand Council of the Tyre Expeditionary Fleet hovered in silence above the blue-green marble, their scanners labeled Sol 3. From orbit, the planet looked almost peaceful. Oceans glistening under sunlight, clouds curling like strokes of an artist's brush, vast green continents sprawling with untamed life. To the humans below, it was home. To the Tyre, it was something else entirely. Their databases had stamped Earth with one designation. Category 7, Death World. The title alone carried weight. Death worlds were places explorers whispered about, planets where even the hardiest war beasts would falter. Only 3 such worlds had been cataloged in the last 1,000 years. They were avoided, marked as unfit for colonization. Yet here was a planet teeming with intelligent life. The contradiction baffled them, and it amused Xyrix. The Tyre biologist floated forward, his slender body glinting under the council chamber's lights. His species thrived on arid, stable planets where nothing more threatening than a sandstorm disrupted life. To him, Earth's rating was absurd. Category 7, he said, his mandibles clicking with derision. Surely, this is a clerical error. I see oceans, forests, prey animals grazing in abundance. A place of softness, not peril. How dangerous could a planet of primates and plants possibly be? The council stirred. A few of his peers murmured warnings about microbial hazards, unpredictable weather, and violent fauna. But Xyrix only chittered in laughter, the sound sharp and mocking. If your instruments quake at buzzing insects and splashing rivers, then allow me to prove the error. I will go myself. I will walk its surface, record its life, and bring back proof that this death world is nothing but a myth inflated by faulty data. There was a pause. Then, reluctantly, the council allowed it. His arrogance had cornered him into volunteering. Within hours, a sleek observation pod detached from the mothership, its metallic hull glowing as it sliced into Earth's atmosphere. Inside, Xyrix prepared his instruments. He had chosen what looked, on scans, to be a vibrant but harmless location, the largest continuous stretch of greenery on the planet. A rainforest humans called the Amazon. The pod descended through clouds, turbulence rattling its frame. Xyrix's compound eyes gleamed as he gazed through the viewport. Below, an endless ocean of green stretched as far as he could see. Tendrils of mist clung to the canopy, pierced by the crowns of ancient trees that seemed to claw at the sky. Rivers the color of molten bronze snaked through the wilderness, reflecting shards of sunlight. The pod touched down in a small clearing, scattering leaves and insects into the air. With a hiss, the hatch opened. Warm, humid air pressed against Xyrix's carapace like a living thing. He inhaled through his filters, amused by the thickness of the atmosphere. Primitive, untamed, beautiful perhaps, but hardly lethal, he muttered into his recorder. He stepped out, his multi-jointed legs sinking into damp earth. Around him, the jungle throbbed with sound. Birds screamed from unseen branches. Insects droned in thick, overlapping waves. Somewhere distant, something growled. Xyrix paused, antennae twitching, then dismissed the noise. Every world had predators. That alone did not make a death world. His scanners whirred, cataloging life forms. Readouts poured across his wrist console. Oxygen-rich flora, countless arthropods, small mammals, reptiles. So much biodiversity crammed into one place, more than most entire planets held. Fascinating, yes. Dangerous? He laughed again. His first few steps were met with curious stares from tiny eyes. Ants scurried along roots, forming endless black rivers. A frog blinked at him from a leaf, its skin glistening in bright colors. Overhead, a macaw's cry rang out, followed by the heavy beat of its wings. Life without order, Xyrix dictated. Chaotic and wasteful, yet undeniably abundant. I see no evidence of the exaggerated perils assigned to this world. He walked deeper into the undergrowth, pushing aside ferns taller than himself. Vines clung to his limbs, resisting like ropes. The air grew heavier, every breath carrying hints of rot and pollen. His scanners flickered with warning symbols, fungal spores, viral particles, microscopic hazards beyond counting. He waved them away irritably. His species' immune system had never been breached. But the jungle pressed closer with every step, as if alive. Eyes glowed briefly between the trees, then vanished. The ground trembled with unseen movement. Xyrix paused, mandibles twitching. Still, he told himself it was nothing, merely instinct stirring its shadows. He had crossed sand seas and weathered plasma storms. A jungle could not frighten him. Unbeknownst to him, a jaguar watched from the thicket, muscles coiled, golden eyes unblinking. Ant colonies stirred beneath the soil, sensing intrusion. Mosquitoes homed in on the alien's warmth, forming a cloud that circled hungrily. For now, Xyrix remained unaware, arrogance blinding him. He looked at the towering trees, the shimmering rivers, and the canopy that swallowed the sky. "So this," he said aloud, "is your fabled death world? Then I laugh at your myths. Let us see how long before your terrors reveal themselves." In the shadows, the jungle seemed to laugh back. The jungle that breathes. The jungle greeted Xyrix not with silence, but with a roar of life. Every direction pulsed with motion and sound. The chatter of unseen primates, the buzzing hum of insects, the low rumble of something large moving through the undergrowth. He marched forward, scanning diligently, his arrogance still intact. His exosuit filters hummed as they analyzed the air, but he dismissed every warning ping that flashed across his console. Spore density, hazardous. Bacterial count, extreme. Viral load, unknown. To him, these were curiosities, not threats. "Your death world is little more than an overcrowded zoo," Xyrix recorded, his tone smug. "I'll walk unharmed." Then came the mosquitoes. At first, they were just an annoyance, tiny darts of life bumping against his carapace. He ignored them, but soon they swarmed, hundreds then thousands, orbiting his body in a living cloud. Their high-pitched whine pierced the humid air. Some found the seams of his exosuit, probing with needle-like mouths. He felt the sting. Xyrix slapped one absently, then froze when his scanner relayed its findings. Parasites, blood-feeding, vectors of multiple pathogens. Diseases stacked within diseases. Malaria, dengue, yellow fever. Dozens more coated into their saliva. He staggered, momentarily horrified. One insect carried enough microbial weapons to destabilize entire colonies. And here, they were everywhere, as common as dust. "Impossible," he muttered. "Such redundancy of lethality cannot be natural." Pain blossomed on his arm. He looked down. 3 welts swelled beneath his chitin, throbbing with venomous irritation. He engaged a pulse of heat through his suit, frying the insects in a sizzling halo. The cloud dispersed, but his arrogance dimmed. He pressed deeper into the rainforest. The canopy thickened, blocking sunlight. Green shadows pressed against him, the air damp with the smell of earth and rot. A faint rustle came from the ground ahead. He paused, sensors sweeping. At first, he saw nothing, just a black trail winding across roots. Then the trail moved. Ants, but not the harmless creatures he knew from home. These were vast, armored, marching in lines that stretched beyond sight. They clung to leaves, roots, even each other, a river of chittering jaws. He leaned closer, fascinated, until his foot disturbed their path. The swarm reacted instantly. Dozens turned as one, antennae twitching, and advanced on his leg. Then hundreds. He tried to step back, but the column split, half surging up his exosuit, biting, stinging. His carapace rattled under the assault. He swatted, but they clung, piercing even hardened plates with burning venom. Pain exploded through him, sharp and electric. His translator offered the data, paraponera clavata. Humans call it the bullet ant venom intensity, excruciating. Duration, up to 24 hours. Xyrix collapsed to one knee, gasping. Each sting felt like a spear driven into his nerves. His vision swam. He blasted the swarm with a concussive shockwave, scattering them at last. They retreated, regrouping with mechanical precision, and resumed their march as if nothing had happened. Xyrix trembled. His species had war beasts. Yes, creatures bred for battle. But these ants were not bred. They were simply part of the forest, one of countless small armies. This world, he panted, it fights with insects. He forced himself upright, shaking. From the corner of his vision, movement drew his gaze to the riverbank. Water shimmered like liquid bronze. He approached carefully, sensors extended. For a moment, the surface was still. Then the water exploded upward in a spray of mud and teeth. A caiman lunged, its jaws clamped against his shield, sparks flaring where alien energy met bone and scale. The impact threw him back against a tree, splintering bark. The caiman thrashed, tail lashing, teeth grinding against his defenses. Only by activating a burst of plasma did Xyrix drive it back into the water. The beast vanished with barely a ripple, as if nothing had happened. His chest heaved. That attack hadn't come from an apex predator. It was merely one hunter among many. The scanner confirmed the grim truth. The caiman was not the most dangerous creature in these waters. He staggered back from the river, too shaken to drink, too wary to rest. Every instinct screamed that eyes were on him, unseen but constant. Night approached swiftly. The canopy dimmed until only shafts of red-gold light pierced through. The forest grew louder as darkness fell. Chittering, howling, screeches and roars overlapping in a chaotic chorus. The air itself seemed alive, breathing in rhythm with the creatures that filled it. Xyrix slumped against a tree, exhaustion seeping into him. His arrogance, though not gone, was cracked. He admitted softly into his recorder. This world does not merely live, it hunts. The smallest creatures wield venom like swords. The rivers hide teeth. The air carries disease. I begin to understand why it was labeled what it is. A roar echoed across the canopy, deep and guttural. His translator identified it instantly. Panthera onca. Human term, jaguar. Apex predator of this biome. The sound froze him. For the first time since his descent, Xyrix did not laugh. He stayed silent, eyes scanning the shadows, mandibles tight. Somewhere close, a predator stalked him, silent, patient, unseen. The jungle had spoken its first true warning, and Xyrix finally began to listen. Nature's endless assault. Xyrix had survived the night, but it did not feel like victory. He had not slept. How could he, when every rustle of leaves, every shrill cry in the canopy carried the weight of potential death? He crouched beneath the massive roots of a ceiba tree, his exosuit lights dimmed, eyes darting at shadows that never stayed still. The roar of the jaguar had faded, but the knowledge of its presence clung to him like the damp air. By dawn, he was trembling, not from cold, but from the oppressive weight of the forest. The humidity seeped into his suit, coating every surface in moisture. His filtration system strained, clogged with spores and fine particulates. The readouts glared warnings at him. Fungal intrusion, risk of structural compromise. He ignored them and stumbled forward. The mission must continue, he told himself. He had to prove Earth's designation exaggerated. And yet, every step seemed to argue against him. He needed water. The river stretched before him again, brown and deceptively calm. His thirst gnawed at him, but the memory of the caiman's sudden strike lingered. He extended a probe to collect samples, lowering it cautiously into the current. The water erupted in frothing chaos. Dozens of fish, razor-jawed and frenzied, shredded the probe in seconds. He yanked it back, mangled wires dripping blood. His blood. The scent must have drawn them. His scanner screamed, Ceresalmus piranha. Collective predation response, extreme. Xyrix recoiled, mandibles clicking in disbelief. Fish that swarmed like predators? Even water itself could not be trusted here. He backed away, parched throat burning, yet too terrified to drink. Pushing deeper into the forest, he found himself entangled in thick vines. Some are ordinary plants. Others bristled with spines that sliced his outer shell. A searing pain followed, a toxin leaching into his tissues. He staggered, examining the wound. His database identified it. Urticus species. Contact toxin. Neurotoxic effects possible. Even the plants wage war. He whispered bitterly, venom coursing through his limbs. He collapsed to his knees, breath ragged. A brilliant flash of color drew his gaze. A small frog perched on a nearby branch, its skin shimmering in shades of sapphire and gold. Beautiful, harmless looking. Curious, he extended his scanner. The reading nearly froze his processor. Philibates terribilis. Golden poison frog. Contact lethality. Instant. Neurotoxin concentration. Sufficient to kill 24 Tyri. Xyrix lurched backward, horrified. Even touching the creature would have ended him. His voice shook as he recorded. This world, it does not permit mistakes. Every movement is a gamble. Death waits, not only in jaws and claws, but in the brush of a leaf, the contact of skin. A sudden constriction gripped his torso. He gasped as coils wrapped around him, tightening with bone-crushing force. A massive snake, emerald scales glistening in the sun, had dropped from the canopy and ensnared him. Its muscles contracted rhythmically, pressure building, squeezing the life from him. He flailed, panic rising. His plasma blade flickered to life, searing through coils. The serpent shrieked in a hiss and unwound, retreating with sinuous speed into the trees. Xyrix collapsed, gasping, armor dented and cracked. His body shook with adrenaline. He realized, with mounting dread, that the shield around his suit was failing. Humidity and spores had infiltrated its systems. His protection was breaking down. He leaned against a tree, exhausted, and allowed himself a bitter laugh. On his home world, threats were simple. A sandstorm to be weathered, a predator to be avoided. But this? Here, life itself was an endless assault. 1,000 armies, great and small, fought without pause. No creature was harmless. No environment was neutral. His arrogance crumbled. Into his recorder, he whispered, "This planet, it is a battlefield disguised as a paradise. Life here is war without cease. To call it a death world is not exaggeration. It is understatement." The jungle answered with sound. Cicadas screamed in waves that made the air vibrate. Monkeys howled from high branches, throwing debris down at him. The forest seemed to laugh at his weakness, mocking his presumption. He pressed on, but slower now, every sense alert. No more laughter escaped his mandibles. Only grim silence. As twilight returned, the weight of his exhaustion pressed down harder. He searched for shelter and found a hollow beneath a fallen log. It smelled of decay, but it would shield him from the eyes that glowed in the darkness. He curled into the space, forcing his systems into low-power mode. But sleep, once again, refused him. The memory of the snake's coils lingered. The sting of the ants burned. The buzzing of unseen wings filled his imagination. And through it all, a single truth pressed into his mind with suffocating clarity. This world wanted him gone, and it would not stop until he was broken. Revelation of the death world. By the third sunrise, Xyrix had ceased thinking of his mission as an expedition. It was survival, bare, brutal, unrelenting. His arrogance was gone, stripped away as surely as his dented armor plates. He limped through the jungle with every sense stretched taut, waiting for the next ambush of venom, claw, or fawn. But then he saw them. At first, he thought the figures were another trick of the forest, a mirage of shapes moving easily through the green chaos. Yet his sensors confirmed it: warm-blooded, bipedal, intelligent. Humans. 3 of them moved along the riverbank. Their skin gleamed with sweat, their bodies wrapped in nothing but cloth and paint. They carried spears tipped with sharpened stone, yet they did not look afraid. They laughed. They pointed at tracks in the mud, speaking in a language the translator struggled to decipher. They were not lost here. They belonged. Xyrix froze in awe. He had nearly died a dozen times in this wilderness. These creatures strolled through it as if walking a garden path. He watched one plunge into the river, the same river swarming with piranhas and caimans, and emerge moments later with a fish speared cleanly through. The others cheered, grinning with sharp, white teeth. It was impossible. It was terrifying. His mandibles quivered. "Ow," he whispered into his recorder. "How do they endure what annihilates all others?" As he followed at a distance, he saw more proof. One human paused to slice open a plant, collecting water from its stem. Another rubbed a foul-smelling paste onto their skin, and the swarm of insects that had hounded him so mercilessly veered away. They worked with the jungle, not against it. They bent its lethality to their will. Then came the test. A low growl rolled from the trees. Leaves shivered as a jaguar emerged, golden eyes burning, muscles rippling under spotted fur. Xyrix felt his chest seize in dread. He had heard that sound before. He had fled from it. But the humans did not flee. The one in front raised his spear, steady and calm. The others fanned out, shouting, clapping, throwing stones to distract the predator. Their voices filled the jungle with such confidence that even Xyrix felt steadier. The jaguar lunged, but the humans struck as one. One spear flashing, another stone smashing, coordinated as though they had rehearsed it 1,000 times. The great predator recoiled, bleeding, and slipped back into the shadows. It had been driven away. Xyrix trembled. The jungle's apex hunter, the beast that stalked him with silence and terror, had been forced to retreat. Not by armor, not by weapons of advanced design, but by these soft-skinned primates who fought with nothing but stone, wood, and courage. He realized then what the database had not explained. Earth was not merely a death world because of its poisons, predators, and diseases. It was a death world because from that crucible had emerged humans, creatures shaped by endless danger into something stronger than fear itself. He recorded feverishly, voice shaking. "Council, hear me. Earth is not misclassified. It is beyond any category we know. Its rivers swarm with flesh-eaters. Its trees drip venom. Its air carries death. Yet even here, life thrives. Not just life, intelligence. These humans, they're not prey. They're the ultimate predators of this place. They swim where the rivers devour. They walk where the ground stings. They face the hunter of the shadows and drive it back. I tell you now, beware them. For to endure this world is to be forged into weapons living and breathing. They are danger made flesh." He shut the recorder, staring after the humans as they vanished into the foliage, laughter echoing like defiance itself. For the first time since landing, Xyrix felt something colder than fear, respect. These beings had mastered the death world that had nearly broken him. They were its heirs, its champions, its sharpened edge. His pod beacon blinked in the distance, signaling extraction. He staggered toward it, every step heavy but resolute. When he boarded and the hatch sealed, he sagged in relief. The jungle's noise was muted at last, but the echo of what he had witnessed would never leave him. As the pod lifted skyward, he gave his final words to the log. "Earth is not simply a death world. It is the crucible from which hunters are born. If we are wise, we will never test them. If we are foolish, we will discover too late what a species tempered by death truly is." Above the canopy, the endless green stretched like a living ocean, and in its depths, humanity thrived, apex predators of the most dangerous world in the galaxy. Xyrix did not laugh anymore.